Welcome to Grandma's Tales. Find your most comfortable position, my little one. Pull your blankets up high, right under your chin, and feel how warm and safe you are. Tonight, we are going on a journey to a castle made of silver stone, where the moonlight rests on the windows like a soft silk ribbon. We are going to hear the story of a prince, a princess, and a very small, very magical green pea. This is a story about how being gentle and kind is a true sign of royalty. Close your eyes now. Take a deep, slow breath. Let the stars watch over you as we begin. Once upon a time, in a kingdom where the mountains were topped with white lace clouds, and the rivers hummed a quiet lullaby to the stones, lived a young prince. He was a kind boy, with eyes the colour of the deep sea, and a heart that was always looking for someone to share his dreams with. He lived in a magnificent castle with his father, the king, and his mother, the queen. The castle was a place of great beauty, filled with long hallways where the floors were made of polished oak, and the walls were hung with tapestries of golden thread. But even with all this beauty, the prince felt a little bit lonely. He wanted to find a real princess to marry, someone who was as gentle and true as the morning dew. So, the prince decided to travel the whole world over to find her. He packed a small bag with fresh bread and honey cakes, put on his travelling cloak of deep forest green, and set out on his horse. He travelled through dark, ancient forests where the trees whispered secrets in the wind. He crossed vast, golden deserts where the sand looked like ripples of silk. He visited many kingdoms, large and small, and he met many princesses. Some were very beautiful, wearing crowns of diamonds. Some were very clever, speaking many different languages. Some were very brave, riding horses as fast as the wind. But in each case, there was something that didn't feel quite right. He wasn't sure what it was, but his heart didn't feel the click of a true connection. He wanted a real princess, someone whose spirit was as delicate as a flower and as bright as a star. After many months of searching, the prince returned home to his castle, feeling very sad and tired. He sat by the large stone fireplace and watched the embers glow, wondering if he would ever find the friend he was looking for. One night, a fearful storm blew up over the kingdom. The sky turned a deep velvet purple, and the clouds were heavy with the scent of rain. It was a night when the wind howled around the castle towers like a lonely wolf, and the lightning flashed across the sky, showing the jagged edges of the mountains. Crack! The thunder rolled over the roof, making the heavy silver plates in the kitchen rattle. The rain poured down in buckets, washing over the castle walls and turning the garden paths into rushing rivers of water. It was a night to stay inside, close to the fire, with a cup of warm milk and a soft book. The king and queen sat in the great hall, listening to the rain drumming against the stained glass windows. Suddenly, a loud knocking was heard at the castle gate. Knock, knock, knock. It was a quiet sound at first, almost hidden by the roar of the wind, but it was steady and persistent. The king, being a very kind and curious man, stood up from his golden throne. He took a heavy iron key from his belt and walked down the long, echoing hallway to the front doors. As he pulled back the heavy oak bolts, the wind rushed in, bringing with it the smell of wet earth and cold rain. Standing there, right in the middle of the storm, was a girl. Good heavens, what a sight she was! The water ran down from her hair and her clothes. It ran in from the toes of her shoes and out at the heels. Her hair, which was the colour of spun honey, was matted and wet, sticking to her pale cheeks. Her dress, once a beautiful silk of lavender blue, was soaked through and clung to her small frame. She was shivering so hard that her teeth made a tiny clicking sound. The king looked at her with great pity. "Who are you, my child?" he asked softly. And the girl looked up, her eyes bright even in the dark, and she replied, "I am a real princess." The king led the girl inside, where the warmth of the castle began to dry her skin. The queen came to meet them, wrapping the girl in a thick white towel made of the softest cotton. She looked at the girl's gentle face and her tired eyes. A real princess, the queen thought to herself. Well, we shall soon find that out. But she didn't say anything out loud. She gave the girl a cup of herbal tea, sweetened with a drop of wildflower honey, and told her to rest by the fire. While the girl was warming her hands, the queen went into the guest bedroom, the grandest room in the entire castle. This was the room where the most important visitors stayed, and the queen wanted it to be perfect. The queen took all the bedding off the bed. Every sheet, every blanket, and every pillow was moved aside. Then she reached into her pocket and took out a single, small, green pea. It was a tiny thing, no bigger than a ladybug, yet it looked like a polished emerald in the palm of her hand. She placed the pea right in the centre of the bedstead, on the hard wooden slats. Then the queen began to build the most magnificent bed you can imagine. She called for her servants, and they brought 20 thick mattresses filled with the softest wool from the mountain sheep. One by one, they piled the mattresses on top of the pea. But the queen was not finished yet. She then ordered 20 more beds. These were huge quilts made of the finest eiderdown. Feathers so light they were like trapped pieces of a cloud. They piled these 20 eiderdown beds on top of the mattresses. The bed grew higher and higher, until it was so tall that a ladder had to be brought in just to reach the top. The sheets were made of white silk, cool to the touch. and the blankets were woven from the finest cashmere, light and warm like a summer breeze. "There," the Queen whispered, smoothing out a tiny wrinkle in the silk. "Now we shall see if she is a real princess." The princess was led to the room. She looked at the towering mountain of mattresses and quilts, and her eyes widened in surprise. She had never seen a bed so tall or so soft. With the help of a small wooden ladder, she climbed up, step by step, until she reached the very top. She sank into the silk and the feathers. It felt like she was floating in a sea of clouds. The Queen tucked her in, kissing her forehead and wishing her a peaceful night. The candles were blown out, one by one, until the only light in the room was the soft, silver glow of the moon peeking through the heavy velvet curtains. The castle became very, very quiet. The only sound was the distant rhythm of the rain and the slow, steady ticking of the great clock in the hallway. But the princess could not sleep. She lay on her back and looked at the ceiling, but something felt wrong. She turned on her left side, pulling the cashmere blanket closer to her chin, but she couldn't get comfortable. She turned on her right side, nestling her head into the pile of pillows, but she felt a tiny, hard pressure. No matter how she moved or how she fluffed the eiderdown, she felt as if she were lying on a small, hard stone. "It's so strange," she thought to herself. "I am in the softest bed in the world, yet I feel something quite firm beneath me." She spent the whole night tossing and turning. She watched the moon move across the sky. She listened to the owls calling in the forest. She counted the stars she could see through the gap in the curtains. She was not angry, and she did not complain. She simply lay there, her delicate skin feeling every tiny vibration of the castle, and that one small, mysterious point of discomfort. As the first light of dawn began to turn the sky a soft, pale pink, she finally closed her eyes for just a moment. But the night had been very, very long. In the morning, the sun rose over the mountains, painting the castle towers in shades of gold and amber. The birds began to sing in the garden, a cheerful song to welcome the new day. The king, the queen, and the prince were all ready at the breakfast table, waiting for their guest. The table was set with silver bowls of porridge, fresh cream, and baskets of warm bread. Finally, the princess came down the stairs. She looked a little bit pale, and then there were soft shadows under her eyes, but she still looked as graceful as a swan. "Good morning," the Queen said, her eyes searching the girl's face. "Did you have a good night's rest? Was the bed comfortable?" The princess gave a small, tired smile. "Oh, it was a very beautiful room," she said politely. "But I must tell you, I scarcely closed my eyes all night. Heaven only knows what was in the bed. But I was lying on something hard, so that I am black and blue all over my body. It was quite miserable." The prince's heart leapt with joy. He looked at his mother, and the queen was smiling a wide, happy smile. Now they knew for certain that she was a real princess. Only a real princess could be so delicate and sensitive that she could feel a tiny pea through 20 mattresses and 20 eider-down beds. No one but a true royal, with a spirit as fine as silk, could have such a gentle nature. The prince took her hand, and he knew right then that he had finally found the friend he had been searching for all over the world. He didn't need to see her crown or her kingdom. He had seen the truth in her gentle spirit. So the prince took the princess for his wife. It was a wedding like no other, filled with music that sounded like the wind in the trees, and flowers that smelled of summer honey. The whole kingdom celebrated, for they knew their future king and queen were people of great kindness and feeling. And what happened to the pea? The queen took it and placed it in the Royal Museum, where it can still be seen to this day, unless someone has taken it away. It sits on a small velvet cushion under a glass dome, reminding everyone that the smallest things can tell the biggest truths. The prince and his princess lived in the castle for many long and happy years. They filled the halls with laughter and ensured that every guest who came to their door was treated with the same warmth and care that the princess had received on that stormy night. The princess never forgot that night. Whenever she saw a small green pea in the garden, she would smile and remember that it was a little thing that brought her a big love. She learned that being a princess isn't about the gold you wear, but about the kindness you feel in your heart. And now, my little one, it is time for you to find your own soft bed. Your pillows are waiting, as light as eider-down. Your blankets are warm, like a hug from the stars. Your eyes are very heavy now. Close them tight. Imagine you are in that silver castle, safe and sound, where every dream is as sweet as honey. Sleep well, little one. Good night. Sleep in the peace of the moonlight. The end. For more audiobooks for preschoolers or 3-year-olds, stay on our channel. Good night. Sleep well. Good night.